is charting a path forward for the country to take us from where we are right now in this state of distress, really, to a better space. But for me, one of the key takeaways is the issue where the president made a commitment to address the structural constraints in the economy. And of course, by that, one of the key constraints that we know about is the issue, which is something that Dr. Moleko also mentioned in the interview that we did with her last week. She spoke about oligopolies and monopolies. And that, so obviously there's a serious need to deconstruct these oligopolies and monopolies, which also enforce old patterns of ownership in the economy. So for me, that was one of the key things, I think, for now that we can really highlight. But the plan itself, the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, is a sound plan. Right now, it is about how does the country now set itself up for implementation.
Quite interesting. I mean, we really are looking forward to the debates, and I believe most of these points are going to somehow find expression in the debates themselves. And Mr. Ngoma, he also touched on the elephant in the room, the vaccine, the AstraZeneca vaccine.
You know, what really made it for me was the clarification that the president provided, the clarity that the president provided regarding the vaccine you just mentioned, the AstraZeneca. You know, the fact that the president was open to tell South Africans that unfortunately this is not what we had hoped for because of its mild and moderate efficiency, especially after the country was, you know, we have this COVID-2 variant now, you know, which the AstraZeneca would not do anything. But it didn't just provide that clarity. He also came out with a plan where he announced that this week we can expect the arrival of about 80,000 of Johnson & Johnson vaccines going in the next few weeks. We can expect more, about 500,000. And it's also, you know, we also have agreements with COVAX that also provides this vaccine of 12 million. And we also have a 20 million commitment from Pfizer to assist the country. So I was very impressed. First, I was very happy that the President provided the clarity that we needed to hear as citizens of the country, and also informing us of what we can expect. So I was very grateful to hear that there is a move, even after we had this challenge with the AstraZeneca vaccine.
There's a lot more. He touched, although briefly, on how the COVID-19 has affected children as well, and we are hoping to hear more about that. What's your impression on, particularly on children, because I think they are the missing link somehow in government programs.
Yeah, that's very true, Hlamariso, because that's one of the things I noted in the speech. The president didn't really speak a lot about the children, except that the ECD centers are, there's assistance that is available there, there's assistance available to them, but there wasn't a lot of elaboration on those issues. And that also touching on schools, because it affects children as well, is the fact that they are going to have a broadband into schools, but in terms of when that is going to happen, that was kind of missing in the debate. But we are hoping that when the president comes back and responds in his speech, that will be highlighted. And one of the things as well that was more touching was the fact that the social grant, the COVID-19 social relief grant, has been actually extended, meaning that the children are not going to suffer, because you know that some of the children in foster care, they depend on this money, and some of the parents, in order to assist their children, depend on this fund. So to have it extended for 3 months, I think it was quite a relief for the whole country, in fact, because if the 18 million of people, or maybe half of that, does not receive the grant, that responsibility falls on everybody that is able to assist. So it was quite a relief for all of us that the 3 months at least, the people are going to get some relief and there will be food on the table.
Very true, and I'm quite excited because Parliament has a program. I mean, on the lineup of Parliament, there is the Children's Amendment Bill is going to be discussed and possibly taken to the public for input, and I believe somehow some of these issues will find expression there. But Ms. Mbulane, the president spoke a lot, I think, about economic recovery. You've touched a bit on some of the points. What more do you think should be prioritized in terms of getting the economy back on track?
I think, and thank you very much, Chief Lamariso. Another very important point to emphasize, I think it's also something that Dr. Moleko spoke on. It is the issue of access to finance for SMMEs, and of course, as we know, the issue of oligopolies. I just want to build on that as well. You know, oligopolies and monopolies, they really, they're so entrenched that they keep old patterns of ownership in place. So if we're talking about access to finances, a lot of SMMEs don't even know where to start, because if you don't have the capital to start your business, how can you even be expected to start? So for me, the issue of, if we're talking about deconstructing old patterns of ownership in the country, and if we're talking about really zoning in on these structural features of poverty and the structural features of you know, the economy that make it very difficult to access the mainstream economy, then really the issue of oligopolies is one, and secondly, to build on that, is the issue of access to finance and liquidity.
Very interesting indeed, and we are going to be bringing you more of this content throughout our programming today, but when you look at the President's State of the Nation address, he highlighted key points. And I want us to quickly look at the following clip where we can hear more about these key points, because we are going to focus on them on our discussion throughout the programming today. Let's take a look.
The year ahead must be a time for change, progress, and also for rebirth. It must be a year in which we rise as a people and we do things that are going to make us rise. This is no ordinary year, and this is no ordinary State of the Nation address. I will therefore focus this evening on the foremost overriding priorities that we have for 2021. They are not many, but they are focused. First, we must defeat the coronavirus pandemic. That is primary in everything that we have to do as a nation. And second, we must accelerate our economic recovery. Third, we must implement economic reforms to create sustainable jobs and drive inclusive growth. And finally, and not leaving many other things aside, but these are the key ones. And finally, we must fight corruption and strengthen the state that has been weakened.
Work better. Parliament TV, channel 408 on
We're still watching Parliament TV, and the President in his State of the Nation spoke at length about programs that government aims to put forward in response to the collapse, or rather the crippling effects of COVID-19 on the economy. And he spoke at length about ECDs and other programs that different